here. And bear with me just a moment while we get some folks coming in. And let me see what we got going on. I'm going to try to. There we go. And let me see what we got going on. Oh, let me turn this volume down. There we go. Kind of, the camera's a little far away, so I want to make sure I can actually see the chat as we are getting going here. And I'm going to give it just a moment just so that if anyone does wind up joining, we can. If not, never fear. We're going to pull some cards here. I did promise. I've been owing the collective a love reading, so that's what we're going to do. Now, mind you, this is not for, let's put it this way. If you got somebody at the house that's snoring in your face every day, this is not for you to find out what's going on with them. If you need a personal reading, you can email me at modernmysticmessages@gmail.com and we can look further into your personal situation. If you need that, this reading is more for people who know that they're calling in a divine counterpart or manifesting love, what have you, but they're not quite seeing it yet. Or maybe they met up with this person at some point in the past, but they're, for whatever reason, they're in separation right now. Not necessarily in separation as far as at each other's throats. They're just not physically together at this moment. So we're gonna pull some cards and kind of see where we're going with that. And let's see. I can't see my chat from there. Oh, okay. Maybe no one's come in. I do see some folks in there. Hi, welcome to the live stream. And like I said, we're gonna get going here and pull some cards. We are looking at a love situation. So if you know or feel or hope to be or want to be calling in love for yourself and you haven't quite gotten to that point yet. Oh, there we go. Wait a minute. Nope. Bear with me, y'all. I am trying my level best to get that off of there for one. I can't see my chat here, so, huh. There we go. No. Okay, no worries. Okay, there we go. I just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to make sure that it was actually showing up in here. So bear with me one second. There we go. All right, so we're gonna get on in here and see where we're going today. Actually, these are not the cards that I wanted to pull from initially. We're gonna get a little bit of ancestral and ascended master guidance to see who's going to preside over this. Of course, I do want to call in my guides, Archangel Michael, Yeshua, Thoth, Saint Germain. Please guide over this reading and allow me to be a clear channel, protect my energy and those of the viewer. And of course, all energies and beings of divine light are welcome here, and only beings of divine light. Ashe. Let me get something going here. I'm sorry, my incense went out, and I gotta, that's something I have to do. Sorry. There we go. All right, now we can get going. Ooh. Oh, right here in the top. I'm not taking all of those, but the one that was on the very top is Michael and Faith, spiritual calling. So, I mean, truthfully, they are twin flames, divine counterparts. So I'm loving seeing that right out the gate. I'll take it. Put this over here to the side. Let's see if I can get one more. It says divine protection and a breakthrough moment. So if you haven't seen them yet, that doesn't mean they're not on the way. That's for sure. Ooh. And Metatron and Sandalphon, a sacred connection. Now, they're not necessarily twin flames. It is said that Metatron is Enoch and Sandalphon was Elijah or Elisha, I think. But so they are like genderless, or we see them in the masculine, but they're not true divine counterparts in a romantic sense, but they are definitely divine counterparts. But this sacred connection and synchronicity is here. It's talking about understanding messages. So very likely there's a very good possibility that the reason you haven't seen your divine counterpart the way you like to yet is you may be set aside for a sacred union. You and your divine counterpart very well may have a certain type of love that needs to be taken care of. Okay, well, if you want to go right ahead. No worries. There are some folks here that would like answers. We're not going there tonight. So, bye bye. Anyway. Anyway, oh, and if it resonates with you, if you do feel like you are calling in a divine counterpart or would like to be, I do have a reading that I just posted to the channel. It's not a live, it's actually in premiere right now. One of the most incredible readings I've ever pulled. It was major arcana everywhere, and I didn't pull from a lot of different decks. I got our oracle messages from the Christ Consciousness deck and the Metatron deck. I got a few cards out of there, but the cards that I used in the main course of the reading were the Psychic Tarot, the Tarot of the Orishas, and the Neon Tarot. And just using 3 tarot decks, I'm trying to tell you, like over half the cards I pulled were majors. And it was just interesting, very very interesting. So it definitely pointed the way to calling in a divine counterpart. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to get on here and do this live. I had been telling the collective I would pull a live reading soon, but yeah. And we have trust yourself here, let your intuition be the compass that leads you through murky waters. So even if you're not seeing this person yet, never fear. Don't, if you know and feel in your heart of hearts that it's on its way, yeah, don't give up. Unwavering faith is here. Stand firm in your beliefs. Your steadfast spirit guides you through uncertainty. And honest echoes, listen to the whispers of your heart, for you know the whole truth. Okay. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do just to see what the temperature of this whole divine union thing is, I do want to take a look at the twin flame cards here and see what we got going on. Bear with me. And honestly, the first, the last, if you had heard what I said from the beginning, this isn't about somebody trying to dig out a love they don't know is coming. Very often, divine counterparts are kept in separation for their spiritual advancement or expansion, evolution, whatever you want to call it. So there is a bit of a loneliness there when you're looking for it, but very often they're kept in separation because they're being prepared for each other, because it's not just about finding love. So-called love is a dime a dozen. People have it all day, and the divorce courts prove that that doesn't last. I'm talking about people that are being called into a sacred union for a special purpose. Those relationships take a lot longer to for people to be spiritually prepared for. And so very often they do a lot of their leveling up in separation. So it sometimes it takes a minute. Listen, I feel our energy merging together as if it has a life of its own. We are becoming one. And this is what I'm talking about. Very sometimes you can feel a divine counterpart coming in before you have physical evidence of them being in your experience. So yeah, if you feel like that's coming in, or you're desiring that, and honestly, you may be somebody that you have a bit of a telepathic bond with, and you're not quite sure, is that really real? You don't really want to say nothing to them because you don't want to be seen as crazy, or you don't know, but you got thoughts in your head that are suddenly in your head and you don't know why. And are you, trust your intuition. Most of us are far more telepathic and empathic than we are aware of. Hey Jay, how are you? And Antoine's Dharma Path. Hey, good to see you, fam. Good to see you. Listen, we are alchemists. We transform fear into love and shadow into light. That's what I'm talking about. And that's why it takes so flipping long for them to come in. Don't you hate that? Ugh. Because we've been really healing. And think about it. With the nonsense that most of us have been through in the relationship thing, debacle, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is. Hey, Jayashri, how are you? Um, were you really ready for what you were asking for? If you are a divine masculine and you were wanting that goddessy energy, that beautiful high priestess, divine yoni, magical toe curling, we're gonna just change the world together, love. Go back 5 years. Were you really genuinely, were you ready for that? No. I know I wasn't ready for what I'm asking in, calling in. And here's the thing, I already knew him then. I met my divine counterpart, twin flame, what have you, online a decade ago. A decade. And still ain't in union yet. I mean, we're devoted and it's gotten better, but I had to go through all of my hurt and healing and damage. I had a whole bunch of foolishness, a whole bunch of toxic karmic still around me, closing out cycles. But he just popped up in the weirdest way online and stuck around in that friend zone. Thankfully, he did, because honestly, I would never recommend that. I can't even recommend to nobody that they stick around in the friend zone as long as mine hung around. But as it turned out, we both kind of healed in separation. Come to find out, the longer we got to know each other, we were genuinely mirroring each other. The same kind of trauma and karmic nastiness and toxic partners and family drama and all of that stuff that I was wading my way through. He was doing the same thing 5,000 miles away, and I didn't even know it. And I didn't want to trauma dump my garbage on him, and he's not the type person that complains either. So we genuinely were just kind of healing our wounds in separation, and our friendship, because that's all it could be initially, was friendship. He was with some, well, we weren't truly with anybody, but we were closing down relationships with people, and we were genuinely just friends initially, and just kind of supporting each other through our individual traumas. And then after several years, we realized it was more, and it became more and more and more. Okay, what's going on, Jayashri? Oh, honey, anytime anything that's taken from you, do your spiritual leveling up. Understand, karma don't miss nobody. Ain't no such thing as an unlisted address or phone number where karma is concerned. She gonna find them. Now, don't you worry about that, because guess what? You're worrying about somebody taking your jewels, but guess there's jewels all over this planet. Manifest some more. Manifest something bigger than that. You're asking, will you have some jewels with you? Will they ever be punished? Don't worry about whether they'll be punished. Pray that they heal and ascend so that they feel regret and repentance. The longer you search through life seeking revenge and punishment, you're missing the entire point, my dear. Unconditional love and forgiveness will get you further in life than anger ever will. Okay, I understand. You might feel cheated, but guess what? At the end of the day, sometimes rejection is God's protection and redirection. Anybody that was willing to cheat on you and they're doing this and that and all of that, I can't tell you how many, if I had right now, this moment in time, if I could go back in time from all of the people that have stolen from me, done me dirty, cheated me, defrauded, betrayed me, and all the rest of that, I'd have enough money to be right up out of the financial bind that I'm in right now. Now, it's not from any one person, because guess what? When you're an overgiver and don't distrust, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. A lot of us as empaths, by being so kind and mild and nice and all of that, we walked around in life with a huge target on our chest, our back, or whatever for users, abusers, and all of that. So you've probably had several people do you dirty. Exactly. The meek eventually will inherit the earth, but they get run over by a bus first, usually, you know? So no, you don't require. You have a son and a daughter. You don't require jewels for your son and your daughter. No, you don't. Because if you did, you go out there and work and get some more. You want them back because, like you said, you feel cheated. And as long as you insist on hanging on to the energy of feeling cheated and wanting retribution, it's going to be very difficult for you to heal. You've got to let it go. And I know it's not easy. But trust me, you give it to God, Spirit, the universe, your guides, the ancestors, whatever relates to you. Genuinely forgive and let it go. And that's the way to eventually, if it's going to come back to you, that's the way to get it back to you. But think about this. Go read the, and again, I don't know what religion you are, and I'm not religious, but I can only point to certain religious texts to make a point. If you read the account in the book of Job in the Bible, Job lost all his children, all his cattle, all his money, all his friends, all his lands, and his health. He was stripped down to the bricks like a car left in New York City. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get those same children back. He didn't get those same cattle back. But at the end, he got back double what he had lost. Now, truthfully, you can't replace children. But if you still have your children and you have your life, you may have to let go of that need for retribution and getting back the people that took stuff from you. Because guess what? You worried about the jewels you lost. I would be more concerned that somebody that I was in love with and married cheated on me and took my stuff to go give to somebody else. That's the part that sticks for me. It wouldn't even be the monetary thing, you know? I feel you, Antoine. Trust me. I'd have had a Jonah moment and a Job moment or two or three or four. I'm waiting on mine too. But this is the thing. And people wonder, when I used to wonder how much of my personal story I was going to actually share online, because once upon a time, when I was in that, I don't even want to say victim mentality, because here's the thing: people fling around that term victim mentality and they use it in a negative way, almost like a weapon towards empaths, because the reality is very often you truly have been victimized. So I'm not saying victim mentality from a negative standpoint, but there's a certain way of thinking that goes along with that, that when you tell your story, you're telling it from that painful place. You can make every eye in a room cry. You can make grown men and women cry telling your story, but all that does is perpetuate the pain of the past. So at some point, you get learned to let it go and begin to heal. There you go, Aunt Antoine. And that's the part that I was trying to get Jayashri to understand. Sometimes the things that are taken from us, of course, it's painful. I get that. I'm not saying it's not painful, my dear, and I'm not making light of anything that you've been through. I'm just, there will come a point in time through your healing journey that you will come to understand that everything that was stripped from you was for your refinement. And anything that you need replaced can be easily replaced. I lost everything I owned a couple of three times in life. The last time in 2018, at the hands of somebody I loved and had children with. We weren't still romantically together, but we were still kind of sort of, again, I should have let it go. I didn't. High level soulmate, but a very toxic soulmate. Trusting too much, being still trying to help them, all the rest of that stuff. And at the end of the day, I woke up one morning and found every dime I owned gone. I would have been homeless under the bridge if it wasn't for a dear friend of mine. Everything I had in life was stripped down to me, down to about two suitcases and two storage totes. That's all I had left in life, period. No bank account, no nothing. But you know what I found out? I was able to survive a year in Atlanta with no income at all. No job, no income tax check to fall back on. No, none of the rest of that. Now, was it easy? No, but I didn't suffer. I didn't go to bed hungry near a day. I wasn't outside sleeping under the bridge, not one day. I learned that God truly is my supply. Damn what I lost. Didn't matter at the end of the day. And then wound up getting another job that basically replaced basically. I mean, I wasn't filthy rich. I was, doing average, making about 40K a year, whatever. Lost a job. Well, I didn't lose the job. I left the job thinking I was going to have everything lined up to go into my own business and all of that. And then my child's father literally, through some duplicitous means, gambled away all of his money and my money. And I had no way to get it back. Now what I'm going to do? If I was waiting on him to give me my money back, I'd be a waiting ass. You hear what I say? You're going to have to let go of the idea. Again, the jewels may come back to you, but honestly, unless it just happened last week, I highly doubt it. People that are willing to steal from you like that, they were willing to betray the sanctity of your marriage. They was willing to cheat on you and hurt your heart and your children's heart by destroying a family, and they were willing to steal your physical goods. Do you really think they're going to give it back to you? You're going to have to let that go, my dear. You got to. And once you do, once you get turn loose the notion of it coming back to you, you might find that it might come back to you. Hi, Chevalier. How are you? And let's get on in here. Honestly, I highly suggest, Jayashri, if you are not a part of our soul family, subscribe to the channel. And of course, we get into a lot of different things. I don't just do love readings. I rarely do love readings. I'm doing it now because the subject, somebody in this collective is seriously manifesting some divine counterparts. It keeps showing up so profoundly in the readings that I wanted to take a look. So I am going to go ahead and pull some more cards for that, but we can talk more about it later. And like I say, I'm not, if you have other questions or whatever, I just didn't want to keep, harping on that. Look, and some of these cards, this is supposed to be a love reading, but it makes some stuff you might need come out in these messages too, because truthfully, our first love in any divine counterpart scenario is ourselves. We can't call in a divine counterpart until we heal and ascend. And that's why I was saying, as far as having to get those lessons of unconditional love and forgiveness and letting go, even though it hurts, and finding another way, because at the end of the day, the love you supposed to have may not have nothing to do with that nasty Rudy Poot that did you dirty. That may have just been the closing of a karmic cycle to prepare you for the next cycle. Yeah. Get that foolishness away from you. I promise you, if you learn to look at it like that, within the next year, 2 years, I will be willing to say 3 at the max, you're going to look back and wonder how in the world you even ever had anything to do with that fool anyway. And probably wouldn't give a flip if they walked back and handed you whatever they took from you, because you're going to have 3 times more than that. But it starts with getting this together and getting this together. Fix your energy, and more will be delivered to you as you're able to receive it. I know the universe works in mysterious ways, but sometimes I judge this situation instead of surrendering to it. Now, this is a love card from the Twin Flame deck, but this really applies to more than just love. It applies to what we just said, too. Yes, indeed. Let me see if we got something else. My ego is fragile to criticism and rejection. I've created walls to protect myself. We all do, but we can get rid of that too. I'm praying you'll come back after everything that happened between us. I worry you won't forgive me and allow me another chance. Don't. Some of these cards, like I said, I don't agree with everything on the twin flame journey. It's a whole lot of folks out there to be chasing crap that ain't got nothing to do with them and ain't even good for them. It's like sipping on poison. X's are X's for a reason. And if you got somebody you got to chase down and is constantly acting a fool and you don't know what's going on and you constantly begging about, leave them where they at. They don't deserve you. They ain't ready for you. If they truly ready for you, they'll come back and the divine will let you know. But 9 times out of 10, those really, really problematic relationships are not genuinely made for you. And they become even more problematic because we insist on holding on to something out of our wants instead of waiting for what spirit really wants for us. You think I'm not listening to you, but I am. I hear everything you say, and I even replay our conversations in my head. And again, this was about people that are in separation and not in that painful scenario that you just mentioned, Josh. Or this is for, like I said, there's some folks in the collective here that are calling in a juicy, beautiful, divine, sacred, a sacred union. It really is something quite special. Like I said, we got Michael and Faith out here in Metatron and Sandalphon. That's not the energy of people that hurt each other. Those are people that have healed and ascended and are bringing in a wholesome, healthy love. What? Listen, you say you feel after doing so many bad things, they're so happy with no guilt. I'm going to say something harsh to you, and I don't mean to offend you. That ain't none of your business. Whether they're happy or not, whether they feel guilty or not, whether they tripping the light fantastic or not, that is not your business. If you get so caught up on when they're gonna get punished, you know what that means? That means you haven't forgiven and you need healing. What if that lesson was brought to you to teach you unconditional love and forgiveness, and you so tied up in anger and hate that you can't let it go and learn the lesson? And spirit want to give you even more than what these people took, but you have to graduate from the lesson of unconditional love and forgiveness. And because you refuse to learn that lesson, you can't get what's really for you. They're not going to give you back what they took, because that's their, as a karmic assignment, they did their job. Karmics are not always here to make us feel good. Sometimes when we refuse to learn the lesson, they do bad things to us. They take from us. They break our hearts. They betray us. They do us dirty. When they're going to be punished for it ain't your business. Okay. And I know it's hard. I get it, but you gotta let it go. Cause it's and again, that's a harsh thing I said, but one of these days you'll heal enough to understand that I'm saying that for your betterment. Like he said, like Antoine said, release it from your mind. That's the only way it can come back to a better way. Where energy goes, where attention goes, energy flows. We've heard that. But what does that mean? From a law of attraction standpoint, anything you focus your attention on for 17 seconds, and truthfully, the way time is folding on itself, it's less than 17 now, but we're going to keep it at 17 seconds. Anything you focus your attention on, good, bad, or ugly, begins to become more in this manifested universe. We are transmitting and receiving mechanisms, and we create with our thoughts. So when you're magnifying it, whatever it is, if you're sitting here focused on what they did to you and what they took from you and what you want to get back, you know what you magnifying? Want, lack, being without. Universe say, oh, you want to focus on being without? Okay, cool. You can continue to be without. Be far better off to manifest to focus on manifesting something new, worrying about what you're drawing into yourself, and like I say, let go of what's going to happen to them because karma will handle them. If they're doing that to you, they're doing it to other people, and ultimately they're doing it to themselves. You ain't got to worry with that. That's why I said it ain't your business because I promise. I mentioned it in one of my videos earlier this week. Last year, it was either last year, I think it was last year at some point. I had a girl that did me just about as dirty as somebody could do. She literally, I tried to help her. She had a young child. She gave me a sob story. I should have listened and saw that her sisters and her family wasn't bothering with her, but me, Miss Little Pollyanna Nice, brought this girl into my house. She slept with my man in my house and then had the nerve to kind of get a little attitude and wound up leaving. When I found out and put him out, she left right along with him. She wound up having a baby for him. She ain't get nothing for it though. He wound up leaving her, begging me back. I wouldn't take him back. He was out there living a crazy lifestyle, got shot by the police, died out in the streets in Miami somewhere. She wound up going to jail, strung out on drugs. The child is somewhere being raised by the grandparents. Horrible life. I didn't know nothing about it until she brought that mess back to me. Begged 30 years later, looked me up on Facebook, I wound up accepting and her to call me and all that, talked to her for a long time. She was begging me for forgiveness because that's been eating her alive for 30 years. I had went on about my business and forgot about it. So did she win anything? She took my man. She ain't took nothing. Right? And yet, if I had been proving and defending and arguing with her, I'd have been out there fighting and going to jail and all that low rent, low born crap that she was living. I'd have been stuck in that with them. I done went on about my life, ain't thought no more about that girl or him in years. And yet, I was living in her mind rent free for 30 years because she knew she did me wrong. Exactly. You can find, and I love that Antoine was the one that says it on the Dharma path. Karma is a bitch, but guess what? If you do the right thing, your karma will lead you to Dharma. And that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. Hey, Emma, I'm glad. And that's honestly, that's the reason. Like I said, I had to get to a point that I could share the experiences of my life from a healthy, more healed place without getting crying and without being all upset. Hi, warrior above, within, without. Glad to have you here. I don't remember seeing you here before. Definitely glad to have you though. Oh, look at here. Acceleration is coming up here. Speed up and chase the results you want. The results you want. The results you want, not the stuff you're lacking. Ooh, what we got over here? Time. Let time forget those scars. Honestly, this was supposed to be a love reading, but again, like I said, your first love, the greatest love of all, is this one right here. So I think this is beautiful that these cards are giving these kinds of messages. Time will help you forget those scars. Having sensible boundaries is important. Now, for the rest of us that's worrying about this other with the love thing, it didn't forget us either. Connection is here. Your connection is eternal and unbreakable. So even though they're not quite with you yet, if you feel them in the ethereal, you getting those telepathic hits, you kind of got that feeling that there's something out there. Even if you ain't met them yet, you sense and know and understand that there is a love out there for you. I promise you it is. I promise you it is. Now let's get over here. We're gonna pull some tarot. I will get to that, but I had to check this out first because I want to know. I'm just nosy like that. Ooh, look in the split. There's only one destiny card in this deck. Trust that the universe will guide us toward each other, weaving a tapestry of chance meetings and shared experiences that will lead us to our destined, connection. Let's see what we got over here. Uh-oh. Awakening is here. I'm going through a spiritual awakening right now. I'm transforming into the person I've chosen to become. That's part of the time factor as well. And mission. We share a passion for helping others. We have a mission to fulfill in this world together. Trying to tell you, that's the part. Oh, but here, this is what we don't want. But since it's down here at the bottom of this deck, I'm gonna call it to our attention. Then we're gonna put it back. I'm not jaded. I'm not in a place in my life where I can provide love to a partner because I'm still stuck in the past. We have to heal that. What does it mean when you don't know what's going on with life? It means you're growing. What when you say you don't know what's going on, what do you mean? You don't know what direction you need to take. You don't know where you're at in your spiritual journey. What can you explain a little bit more, warrior? Because honestly, what I think it means is you need to subscribe to our channel and come on over to where we at. Because we've, I'm not even trying to be funny. In every way, you feel lost. Honestly, I understand that you're not as lost as you may feel. And I definitely can understand the idea of feeling lost. We are having rapid reality, dimensional shifts, what have you. Time has gotten some weird stuff going on. There's all kinds of glitches in the matrix happening. We're having all kinds of cosmic planetary events. There's a lot going on. It has been a weird year so far. And the world has basically become a dumpster fire. I get that. Yeah. All kinds of planetary shifts, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. And I'm not saying that as a shameless plug. Those are the kinds of things that we start delving into and looking, and hopefully it will give you a place of a little bit of grounding to start sorting through some of the things that, oh, cool. Because, yeah, I stay in like I said, my solitude, and again, that was one of the things I wanted to call the Jayashi's attention. When my world fell apart, I call that a huge tower moment because truthfully, that was one of the things that led me to tarot, trying to get some understanding and clarity. But at the end of the day, I bless that season of my life because it was kind of what I needed to peel away from some of the really toxic people and situations. Yeah, it would have been nice if I hadn't lost everything physically, but sometimes the baby got to go with the bathwater to get you where you need to be. And I just needed to get away from those people and being able to sit down. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, you're guided here. There are no mistakes here. From the very first video that I ever did, I dedicated this channel to drawing in like minded soul family to be able to help people along their walk the way I was helped. I've been able to sit down and tap into the unified field and reach some points in meditation that I know that some people are not able to get. And I'm not saying that from a point of bragging, I'm saying it because I had the luxury in that downtime, in that quiet, that being shut off from the world and basically thrown into the cave in hermit mode, if you were, I had the luxury of having quiet for meditation that most people don't have when they got to get up and go to a 9 to 5 with the aggravating boss and the nagging wife and the kids and the PTA meetings and all of those things piling up on them. My life shut down in a way that for 2, 3 good years, I was able to sit down and spend hours in meditation every day. And so I was able to start shifting my energy in a way that allowed me to tap into the unified field and open my clairaudience in a way that I was able to hear. And at that point, Spirit let me know you didn't do all of that just for you. You got to share what you're learning. Yeah, Doctor Strange Doom, you were definitely guided here for sure. Warrior was as well. Hey, FIFA, you probably were too, because I'm telling you, there's no accidents. I set a big intention. I have been given from my heart's desire a project, if you will, that truthfully, by the time we're finished, is probably going to go down in history as a huge social experiment that I'm hoping will end up affecting thousands, if not tens of thousands of people eventually. Um, I had no idea how I was gonna get it done. Have no idea where the money coming from or none of that. Spirit just let me know. You get on here and you start talking. You pay your dues. Your pound of flesh is in telling your story, teaching and sharing, letting people know. Like you say, it may be embarrassing. I came from the old folks school of you don't air your dirty laundry, what happened at home, stay at home kind of stuff. And it's time we stop doing that. And I have to share the accountability of the mistakes I made and the things I learned along the way, to been there, done that, got a t-shirt brand of hard-earned wisdom so that I could help some folks short circuit some of their pain, because we're navigating a crazy time in history right now. It's ridiculous. It really is. It's crazy. Listen, whether virtually or in person, we've already met. We really have. We really have. And honestly, I don't think this is. I. Mm, yeah, something is telling me I can get back and do a love reading at any point in time. I want to pull some cards, but I'm not going to use the decks that I initially wanted to do. We're going to get over here more on some of the decks for a different type of deck, just because I'm just being guided to. And I've learned the way my intuition is set up, I've learned to go with the flow. Oh, look at here. I said I'm learning to go with the flow. And what turned sideways and came out of my deck? The Ace of Swords and the Nine of Cups. Yes, indeed. So I got some of the baddest tarot guys on the planet. I ain't a big channel and or none of the rest of it, but I really understand the way I tapped into the field with my guys. I got some of the baddest tarot readers that probably ever walked the planet as part of my spiritual team. What's this right here? Blueprint. Yep, something never seen before, a creation of something new. This is divine guidance to follow your heart. Right now, I don't know. Like I said, FIFA, we started out, I thought it was going to be a divine counterpart reading for divine counterparts that are in separation or in absentia. But because of the folks that are coming in here and the line of questions that are happening, we're switching up. We can do this. It's our channel. We can do what we want to do on it. It don't have to be about any of that. So this deck is the Age of Aquarius deck. It has some additional arcana in it that's not in a regular Rider Waite, but it's a more spiritually focused deck. The deck that I was going to use for the initial couple reading was the Goddess of Love. And again, I may do, fact of the matter, if we really, really want to try again for a love reading, if y'all are interested in that, let me know and I can come in perhaps tomorrow. But this deck got so much nudity on it anyway, I can't even show half the cards. But I was going to use it and read from the actual book because this deck has to do with a lot of the feminine goddesses, and a lot. It's not truly an erotic deck per se, but it is more focused on that. And I just really, really feel that right now the teaching moment that we're having is more about our spirituality than our sexuality. So I just kind of wanted to leave that go. No, it ain't no accident. I'm trying to tell you, sweetie, there is no accidents. Let me tell you, and again, we may or may I when I came in here, I had the idea to pull cards. I don't even have to pull cards. We can ask questions. We can do whatever. Like I say, it's our channel. But when it comes down to intuition, I started noticing back in, like I say, I'll back up a little bit. Around the end of 2016, I got a notion. I used to listen to Abraham Hicks all the time. I listened to Abraham Hicks for a few years. And to the point that I had pretty much chewed all the flavor out of that gum, so to speak. But I wanted to really understand law of attraction on a personal level, and I wanted to understand how to manifest from nothing. Now, that be careful what you ask for, because that's part of the reason my tower fell. I said to spirit, I wanted to learn how to manifest from nothing. So spirit took me to a place of having nothing. But before that happened, in listening to Abraham and them, they were forever talking about um, meditation. And that was the one thing that I hadn't really did because again, I'm working every day, dealing with craziness and kids and this and that. I didn't really meditate. And around, I think it was about September or October of 2016, I made up my mind I was going to sit down and consistently meditate every day for at least 30 days and see what happened. And by the spring of 2017, I was saying to my friends and family that I could feel, I understood that I was undergoing some kind of a transformation. I didn't know yet what was happening exactly because I wasn't super spiritually focused. Like I said, I was still in the friend zone with a toxic ex and a this and a that and all that other kind. Is who a witch? Me? um, truthfully, 200 years ago, I probably would have been living at the edge. Oh, Abraham Hicks? Nah, she ain't no witch. She's a channel. And when I say that she channels energy, she's not even particularly spiritually focused. She's a little bit more focused than she was when she started this whole gig. But channeling is a phenomenon that started coming online onto the planet. I honestly believe it's part of the return of the Christ. Um, in 1844, the Millerites estimated that Yeshua would return in 1844. Now, they were looking for him to physically return. The Jehovah's Witnesses were too. The Mormons were too. He didn't physically return, but there's a lot of um, information that would suggest, if you really know what you're looking at, that he energetically did return to the planet around the mid 1850s. There was a burst of spiritual activity such as had not occurred for almost 1,000 years on this planet. It was very, very spiritually quiet for hundreds of years, coming out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance period, blah, blah, blah. Very little spiritual activity. And then right around the mid 1800s, everybody was a prophet, everybody was receiving something. There were dozens of religions that popped out on the scene between 1875 and 1925 in the United States alone. And then you had Helena Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner and Edgar Casey, and all of these different ones were like really getting into spiritual information and mysticism and all those things. And that kind of quieted down in the 30s and 40s. And then in the 70s, the late 70s, early 80s, channeling started. It started with Theo, and then, well, it started, I think, with oh, I can't think of the girl's name that channels Seth, but the Seth material, she was truly an anomaly. She was not spiritually enlightened. But Seth even said that they were able to connect with her through some kind of an anomaly in her energy, but it looked very painful for her. I don't know if it really was, but it was so weird that it didn't really take. There's only a very few filmed instances of her channeling, but then Theo was channeling through I think her name is something Gillette. She's still channeling Theo to this day. And then she contacted, or Esther Hicks went to see Theo, and Theo told them that they would begin to channel Abraham. And then, of course, Cryon came on the scene, and Bashar. And then in the 80s and 90s, or whenever the Christ letters, somebody came through, Daniel Scranton started channeling. But channeling has opened up because a lot of them, well, spirit works through what they have available to them. And so more were available. But I have noticed, because I understood that I was going to channel, and I thought I was going to channel Solomon, which is part of the Abraham group, but they came to me in a different format. But I was looking for it to be more of a formal situation like that. They go into trance and they feel all weird and it's gonna be strange and all of that. And I started finding out, as my clairaudience kicked in, I became somewhat of a spontaneous channel. I would find myself talking to people, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I don't really know what I just said, but I hope you heard it because I think it was really important. I have to go back and listen to my own messages sometimes. I'll jot down a sentence or two about what I want to talk about online, and then I just turn on the camera because I've called in my guides and stuff. And when I go back and listen to it, I'm like, well, damn, that was pretty good. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But it's not like I don't feel it from any kind of a braggadocious place. I understand I'm a spontaneous channel. So, yeah. Oh yeah, Jay. I've been at this for like I said, I'm the type of person, I'm a little neurodivergent. If y'all can't tell, look at here, two of pentacles are here with balance. I'm a little bit neuro. So when I really something interests me, I drill down on it kind of hard until I'm just not interested anymore. And once I really started, at first, when I first started meditating, I was seeing like cosmic concepts. All of a sudden I'm sitting in meditation, and I've never read a book in physics in my life, but all of a sudden for a few minutes I understand quantum entanglement, that kind of stuff. I'm being shown stuff. In fact, I hadn't read the emerald tablets or any of that kind of stuff at that time, but I was shown in spatial concepts, kind of like the going out, the difference of the watchers, and then going out further to the archons, going out further to the aeons, until I finally got to the four surrounding the one. I never could see the face of the one. I was aware that he was aware of me, but I could not get a personal audience with the one. The closest I could get was to the four surrounding the one. That was a concept that I was shown in meditation. Hi, Tash, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Exactly. And after a while, the cosmic concepts kind of faded to black, and I started noticing that the algorithm was playing with me. I would see a concept in meditation. Again, I didn't understand why it was so. I would just understand in meditation that it was so. And then after I see something in meditation, 2 or 3 days, maybe a week later, what have you, I would be led to something on YouTube or somewhere online that would lead me to the medical or spiritual or psychological or whatever explanation to further expound or confirm what I've already been shown in meditation. And once I started paying attention to that, because now, mind you, I skipped a lot of stuff. I started meditating in 2016. By 2017, I knew something was happening. By 2018, all of the number synchronicities had started. Wow. Soon as I said synchronicities, Dr. Strange, it popped right up on the screen. See? And that's what I'm saying. The numbers started chasing me so much till I was like, all right, already with the numbers. And then they peel back and I started getting song synchronicities. And like you said, being led to different information. And here's the thing, I unplugged from secular television like in 1999. So once I unplugged from that set of programming, I started looking at YouTube, but I treated YouTube like University of YouTube, and I noticed my algorithm was starting to get way different than everybody else's. And when I look at something on the page, I kind of scroll down in my feed, and whatever really jumped out at me, that's what I go and look at. And 9 times out of 10, it would either confirm or answer something that I saw in meditation. And once Spirit saw that I was paying attention, it was off to the races then. I was led to all kinds of stuff. Chariot, I'm a Cancer too, so I love that that's at the bottom. And what really, really shifted for me was during the pandemic. Now, the rest of the world was losing their minds and going crazy and all of that. And it was such a divine intervention for me because I was here in Atlanta. I had finally started, got me a little piece of raggedy job. Had only been at it for a few months. It was a part-time thing, wasn't paying nothing. And then all of a sudden one day, I got a wild hair up my butt that told me to reach out to one of my former coworkers in Messenger. And I did. I learned to follow my intuition. And I started chatting with her. And how you doing? Miss y'all guys, da 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 da. Because I did. I love the people I worked with. I hated the job, but I loved the people. But I started talking to her and asked her, I said, well, I wonder if I could even get my Galactic Souls came out. If I could get my old job back. She said, hold on a second. She texted me back in about 15 minutes. She said, Dion said, she said, I forgot the boy's name now. But she was like, our new manager, oh, Chris. She said, Chris is our manager now. And Dion said that, here's Chris's number. Call him and let him know what day you can be back. We'll make a space on the team for you. And just like that, after having been away from my job for 2 years, within 10 minutes, I had my old job back. I moved back to Sarasota the following week, worked there for 2 or 3 months, and then the world shut down with the pandemic. And so I spent the pandemic sitting 800 feet from the Gulf of Mexico, breathing in all that good ass prana, baby, barefoot meditating out in the sun. My daughter and her girl, well, now wife, but her girl at the time, they had moved from Richmond down to Sarasota. And I got a lot of cool stories around that kind of stuff too. But I wound up staying with them in a house that was literally right across from the intercoastal waterway. And the place that I was working initially had been right there, like less than a mile from where that house was. And then they moved further inland. But once the world shut down, every day I was taking salt baths, barefoot meditating, sitting out in the grass, fasting, doing all this stuff. And so when my clairaudience really kicked in, it was one day I heard something in meditation that I didn't know the answer to. I had to Google the answer. And once I realized, oh my God, I really truly am clairaudient, I immediately asked if any of the ascended masters that were willing to work with me would let me make themselves known to me. And that's when Saint Germain and Yeshua and Thoth came in with a crystal witch. Oh wow. Now see, thankfully, I've had a couple of spiritual attacks, but they've come from afar. There were people that were in my energy space, but not up and close and personal, because I was always really afraid of that kind of stuff. So I never really got close to it. But I do have a lot of protection around me. But I was in a super, super safe space. So I did have, I was able to trust the spiritual activity that I had. The only thing that really kind of sort of freaked me out, but it didn't really freak me out because I knew what was happening. I did have an incident towards it was like the end of 2020 going into 2021. My daughter's dog, she had a blue pit named Mystique that was 9.5 years old, and she got sick. They suspected it was brain tumors. We tried to have her treated and all of this, and they finally had to have her put down. Honey, don't feel like the Lone Ranger, FIFA. My financial, I refuse to deal with my financial situation right now. I mean, I have to, but I refuse. I do have anxiety from time to time, and then I have to talk myself off the ledge and remind myself, do you have faith or not? Do you believe the Spirit can provide a way for you or not? Yeah, but I do get it. It's difficult sometimes, but it's gonna be okay. Number one, you don't need as much as you think you do. And number two, your situation can change at any moment. So do understand that. Um, but yeah, when we had to have her put down about 2, maybe 3 months after we had to have the dog put down, I was sitting on the porch one day in meditation. And it was weird because I was starting to talk to my guides, but I didn't think to ask who they were because I was kind of comfortable. I would understand if I was in Oshun's energy or whatever. I kind of see that. I've had Oshun cause it to rain on one side of the street for me and not the other. Every day for like 3 days, I go out. No matter what time of day I go out to meditate, it'll start raining. If I ask her if it's really you, make it stop, and it'll stop within 2 or 3 minutes. Lightning strike the tree across the street, but lightning with no thunder, that kind of stuff will happen. But this one particular day, I was get ready to come out of meditation, and all of a sudden, I had this overwhelming feeling come over me like I had never experienced before. I thought my heart was going to burst out of my chest. And all of a sudden, I was panting like a dog and pacing back and forth and going in. And I went to see I was channeling our dog. And the dog's love is so delicious. Oh my God, it's so delicious. It's intense, but it's delicious. But I wasn't trying to do that kind of stuff. I didn't even know I could. But after I had those kind of things happen, I was like, okay, this is real. This is not, like I said, I've never played around with witchcraft or spell work. I have my crystals and stuff, but I use crystals for healing and protection and all of that. I wouldn't even begin to know how or talk about doing no kind of spell work for nobody, and I never would. I create, baths for myself and protection. I yeah, Oshun is one of my guides. Yemoya is over Yemoya is over my heart space. Oshun is over my head space. Oya is over my destiny. But I don't follow the path of Ifa because I was just kind of introduced to various. Yeah, I have a special relationship with Lord Enki and in several of his iterations, whether it's Olokun or Shiva, Lord Shiva. I even before I understood that Shiva was Enki, I felt led to certain mantras and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, it will kind of freak you out when you first start making connection. When I heard Yeshua say, if I came back here, if I did come back here physically, I wouldn't be affiliated with any of these churches. I'd sit down and braid another whip. That's what I do. When I heard that, I thought I was being rude and disrespectful. And he just kind of laughed gently. And then I heard, let my people go. And like I said, at the time, I thought that was Yahweh talking. I didn't realize that it was Enki basically feeding Yahweh's words back to him. Wow. Judgment just popped out here. And the 9 of pearls. I ain't mad. I'll take it. So, yeah, I definitely, honestly, you could say Jesus is black. Like I say, I don't believe, well, the longer I look at the scenario, and as Yeshua ben Nazariah, of course he was. Jews ain't white. However, they're not black like we thought they were either, but it's immaterial what his color were, because for real, I honestly believe with every fiber of my being at this point that if Hermes Trismegistus was the thrice born iteration of Thoth, I believe Yeshua Hamashiach was the second born. I just do. Go, if you really look at the Gospel of John and the Emerald Tablets, they were saying the same stuff. They were quoting each other, and both were known as the Logos. Both were known as the Son of Man. And Enki was Thoth's father. Enki opened the skies up and told people, this is my son, the beloved, whom I have approved. Listen to him, when Yeshua was baptized and when he was transfigured. John 1:1 says, in the beginning, the word was with God and the word was a God, or the word was with God and the word was an Elohim. One of the powerful ones. Yeah. Absolutely. It's absolutely inconsequential how a teacher looks, because at the end of the day, we're all related. Even the folks that want to bash on the lesser melanated folks on this planet, they still all came from the same root. Whether the Anunnaki that they came from was Pleiadian or Arcturian or Lyran or Veda Reticulayan or any of the rest of them, they were the Anunnaki just mean those who to earth from heaven came. They came from Nibiru. Nibiru was a melting pot planet, just like the US is a melting pot country now. They allowed refugees from all sorts of planetary systems due to the galactic wars. Tiamat was a dragon, which means Yahweh is a dragon. People don't even understand that. So whatever skin suit they chose to wear when they came here to walk amongst men, they're not fully human. They don't look like us. So their skin don't really matter what color they were. It is said that Enki was blue. And in the Vedic tradition, Lord Shiva is shown as dark blue. Yeah. Various planets in the Osiris constellation, various planets in, like I said, Sirius B, various planets in whatever. Even in the scriptures, when they talk about son of the morning star, Enki has roots in Venus as well. Because they came here. If you read in the Lost Book, it tells us in the before time, when they came to Nibiru, they came to Nibiru as refugees from the galactic wars. It was two basic factions that came there, and they lived in separation for a while, two separate colonies. And then when they decided that they were going to stay on Nibiru, they knew that they needed to unify their colonies. So they chose lots for the king. And they said if the king was chosen from the north, oh, I see it. Yeah. If the king was chosen from the north, then the bride, yep, it is 11:11. I love it. then the queen would be chosen from the south. If the king was chosen from the south, the queen would be chosen from the north. And that was how they unified the clans initially. But they continued to allow immigrants from other planetary systems that came to Nibiru within the Galactic Wars. So the Niburians, they named themselves Atlanteans. They called themselves Atlanteans, but there was a whole bunch of different bloodlines in there. And they definitely didn't care nothing about incest. We look at those things as bad. We can't make that closely, and that's a good thing. I'm not advocating for us to do that, because we've seen with our primate uh, hybrid status, it does not go well for us. But Ninma and Inky was brother and sister, and she had a baby for him. She had been in love with Enlil, but she couldn't marry him, and she wound up having a baby for Inky instead. Look at Demuzi and all of them. The stuff that they did, their ways are not like our ways. It doesn't make it good or bad. It just simply was. And I mean, we look at Thoth. Who knows what color Thoth was? We got a head of an ibis and a body of a man. Like, yeah, I don't know what color he was supposed to be. And when he was Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan, I don't know what color he was, but it really doesn't matter. Race was pushed onto this planet by the lesser melanated folks to create division amongst the rest of us, because everybody else on this planet is melanated, and truthfully they are too. It's just in lesser concentration. If they didn't have any melanin at all, they die. We have to have melanin in our system. It don't have nothing to do with the color of the skin. Well, I mean, it does other stuff too, other than just color our skin. And the deeper concentrations of it are better for us. Yeah. I had some. Now I got more of these little skin tags and stuff. But when I was younger, I had some freckles too. I got family that's, light skin, light eyes, this, that, and the third. I had a girlfriend of mine in childhood whose uncle was black, but he definitely had blonde hair and blue eyes. And it wasn't even no pretty blonde. It was like yellow, almost yarn yellow. Blonde hair and blue eyes and freckles. So that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, we're all a melting pot. We were made as a hybrid from a primate, and our initial genetic makeup. Now, that we can pretty much narrow down later on. A lot of different ones as they, the lovers and the King of Swords is here, as they started marrying into the other hybrids and things, the bloodlines got kind of crossed, but a lot of our initial bloodline came directly from Enki and Ninma. Ninma carried the, everybody doesn't, but most of us do. And because he was the primary geneticist, Ninma was his second. Thoth was on the project as well. And when they created Adam and Eve, Thoth went in, put them to sleep, and took Enki's DNA and put it in Adam's side, and took Ninma's DNA and put it in Eve's side so that they could become a fertile breeding pair. And then 130,000 years later, when he noticed that that bloodline was beginning to devolve again back into the primates, they were losing intelligence. When he ran across Dawn and Dusk, which were, they had Anunnaki blood in them anyway, because they were earlier humans. But then he physically chose to mate with them. It wasn't no laboratory experiment. He just rolled up on them out in the wild and mated with Dawn and Dusk and had Adapa and Titi. And Adapa and Titi were the first civilized humans. Adam and Eve were not the first civilized humans. They were of limited intelligence. Adapa and Titi were the first civilized humans. And after that, there were a couple other times that he mated with humans to bolster up the human genome. Noah was a hybrid. Methuselah was a hybrid. Enoch was a hybrid. Lamech was a hybrid. Kenan was a hybrid. There was a whole bunch of, like I say, Enki like mating with human females, and it served the purpose of shoring up our bloodline so that we would not continue to devolve. Oh, yeah, they absolutely had relations. Hey, General Lockboy. Well, thank you. Appreciate you. So, at the end of the day, though, you got to thank him because he was sticking around long enough to notice that we were devolving. I'm glad we ain't still knuckle dragging somewhere on the ground, running around, living in trees and naked, you know? Now, people wanted to get upset and be offended when people say that we were, they never did say that we're related to monkeys, but it don't take that big of a stretch of imagination to understand that. They didn't have to tell us that. All you got to do is go and look in a zoo or any Discovery Channel, whatever. They're too intelligent for them not to be our nearest of kin. We would like to think that we had already evolved to the Neanderthal stage, but honestly, it was probably the genetic intervention of Enki in them because we don't want to see and accept that because we're told that the Earth, the humans' history is 6,000 years old. That's the lie that religion tell us. If we go back and look at those other ancient texts, like I said, the Sumerian civilization, Ur was there, Eridu was there, Sumeria was there. Those go back far, far, far. The timelines that we're presented in the Bible are wrong because they can't tell us the truth and still hold to their lie. So they just allow the lie. Possibly. A lot of folks are in tap with Thoth, Doctor Strange Doom. Like I said, he's been with me since childhood. Even though I came from a very strict religious background, I was terrified of that kind of stuff. I really, really was. But I was still fascinated with Thoth. And I didn't understand. I had a recurring dream as a child that I didn't even understand until I got to about 2 or 3 years ago. I was watching excuse me, I was on YouTube and saw something with Satguru, and he was talking about the Devi. Now, I used to listen to the Devi prayer all the time, but I didn't even see in the Vedic tradition the representation of the Devi, that black with the eyes, the white eyes and mouth. I saw that in a recurring dream that I had. As I thought it was a dream. Apparently, I was having some kind of a temporal something and seeing other dimensional beings, but the Devi was with me as a child, and I saw that image several times in a recurring situation as a child from the age of about 4. I think the last time I saw it, I was about 7 or 8, and then of course, we kind of lose connection a little bit by age 7 or so. So I didn't see it anymore after that. But yeah, yeah, Antoine, absolutely. I got when Yeshua and Saint Germain kind of tapped in, so to speak. Shortly after that, I was handed off to Master Dwal Cool, and I went through an initiation study group type scenario with that. And I wasn't even sure anything had really happened there either. Excuse me, until I was led to that meditation, whatever scenario, to accept my Christed beingness. And then I started kind of really understanding, like I said, dealing with Kuan Yin a little bit. I was led through. It's no one particular, and I didn't understand why. It was like I would have limited interaction with certain ascended masters for a short time, and then it was almost like I was being handed off to somebody else and handed off to somebody else until I really kind of, like I said, Yeshua has always been with me. I've always known, but not to have that kind of conversational relationship with him. And once it got to that point, within a couple of years, I started getting these downloads and being led to the information about Inky and all of that, and became aware of the area that I'm supposed to be teaching in and that kind of stuff. So it just got way different. Like I said, once I kind of lined up with Inky and Yeshua and Thoth, that was a wrap. Like I said, my dance card is kind of full, so I don't really deal with a whole lot of other deities now. I mean, Archangel Michael, of course, is always with me, and Raphael, and I do call on Metatron quite a lot, and Sandalphon and Metatron are pretty much inseparable. So those two, but I mean, occasionally I hear from the divine director. I can remember back in like 2010, 11, 12 or so, I heard from Commander Ashtar Sheeran a couple times. But again, I was kind of in conspiracy theory mode at that time. I don't have a whole lot of curiosity left about the galactic portion of, I'm interested in first contact when they come into contact with me. Is while they still up there in the sky, that doesn't fascinate me that much anymore. Unless they're gonna come and take me to the med bed so I can fix me up, that I would welcome that immensely. But the more conspiracist ends of the galactic issue don't really hold me in that kind of a space anymore, because I'm, like I say, I'm on to this aspect of it now. I'm trying to understand the scriptures and sort through the lies and figure out what's going on and understand the revelation story and understanding who Yeshua is and who Thoth is and who Enki is. And is he I know he's the dweller, but is he also, well, in my opinion, from me reading Revelation, I believe Enki is the Elohim that's described in Revelation 21 is coming back with New Jerusalem. That is not Yahweh. Yahweh is getting ready to be destroyed. But that's just what I came to understand. But those are those kind of things. Yeah. Honestly, anybody that asks for proof, I'm not even inclined to argue with them, because they don't have no proof for Christianity. They can't prove Christianity, because Christianity is a bunch of made up lies. They can't prove Islam. They can't prove Judaism. So people that sit around from that lofty, arrogant, ignorant place talking about asking for proof, yeah, they can go read it if they want to, but I won't. I don't even entertain that no more. I used to, but you'll be arguing with a fool, because they're gonna sit back from their lofty, grandiose place because they like to argue, because they done sat up in church and let somebody tell them something, and they can't hear you. They really can't. Yeah. We were talking about that earlier, though. Now, I won't mess with Odin because that's Yahweh. I'm more of a Poseidon girl myself. I just, me personally, I won't mess with Yahweh at all once I learn who he is and what he do. So no Zeus for me, no Odin for me, no none of that. I'll do Olakun and Poseidon all day. And it's, like I said, in my opinion, well, Asclepius is inky, so yeah, I could deal with that. Um, Hermes, Thoth, and Yeshua, to me, in my opinion, all the same person. So I like your statue collection for real. You say just that one that I couldn't work with, but yeah, I got Ola Kun here on my desk because I couldn't find a Poseidon right away. But in the your Ifa pantheon or Yoruba pantheon, Ola Kun is Poseidon, who is Enki. So yeah. Oh, y'all, it's like 11:30, and we started out worried about a reading. Is anybody else really jonesing for me to finish this reading, or can we take it up tomorrow, or through a regular non-live reading? Y'all, let me know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Antoine. And honestly, It was. I really enjoyed it. That's why I say I don't. I mean, if y'all want me to stay on, I got 36% left on my battery. I'll stay if you want me to, and we can pull the cards. But truthfully, I enjoyed the talk, and I was prepared for that. I had the cards on deck in case someone wanted the reading, but I had left my mind open to the idea of just talking and answering questions, just depending on whoever wanted something going on in the chat. And I hope I answered them well enough that somebody can still kind of get the gist of what we're talking about in the playback, because I don't think the chat itself will be available. It might be. I hope it can be, but I'm new to this, so I don't even know how the whole live thing will go. But yeah, yeah, truthfully, because yeah, it did start out kind of as a love thing and became something else. Oh yeah, we ending out here with the high priestess. Ain't this one of the prettiest high priestesses you ever seen? Though I love her. Yeah. So I'll do that, and we got the high priestess, the six of pentacles here, the nine of wands, and the king of wands. Wow. And the two of cups. So we still are on the whole idea of this unity thing. I'll look more into a more formal love reading. I'll probably wind up doing it. Thank you, Dr. Strange Doom. Hopefully you will get on to some other good stuff. I did finally yesterday, I made the playlist to kind of separate everything so you don't have to try to wade through everything. So definitely check out the playlist we have there. We've gone through the emerald tablets. We're going back through the compendium right now, so definitely want to stick around for that. We've been through the Lost Book of Enki, and once we finish with the compendium of the Emerald Tablets, we're going to start on Zechariah Sitchin's Earth Chronicle series. And then after that, we're going to get into, I believe, Paul Wallace's Eden series. And then maybe the Lotus Sutra. I know I was Antoine and I were talking about that. That might happen at some point down the line. We got a lot of stuff to carry us into material to talk about. And right now, before I got on here, some of the channels that I like to look at and information I was looking at, I got about 15 hours worth of videos to watch and break down for you guys and discuss. But hey, I'm all for it. If you stay here, if you come here for it, I'm here for it too. So definitely welcome, and thank you so much for subbing. Thank all of you all for joining me this evening, and we'll be back on it tomorrow. I am, like I said, to go ahead and charge my phone. I don't know how long it's going to take for this to get uploaded to the channel, but I'll be on a little earlier tomorrow since it's Sunday. So see, that's why I was saying, Doctor Strange, there's no accidents. I set the intention that I would get to who needed to get this information, that like people would be drawn here, that I would be calling in soul family. Right now, we're just getting to know each other. We're learning and growing together. Eventually, we're going to do an amazing global project together. Y'all stick around. I'm trying to tell you, you just have no idea. I don't even know how good it's gonna get. I just know what Spirit showed me, and I don't. It ain't my business how they gonna make it happen. I just know what's gonna happen. So yeah. Oh yeah. Guess what? Wait till tomorrow. We might have Tarot Church tomorrow too. We really and you know what? I love it because I actually have a few readers that I am a part of their collective. And I used to sometimes I would go out and I'd wind up sitting there instead of doing my Sunday outdoor meditation or whatever. Like, oh Lord, they done took me to Tarot Church today. But it's all good because it's the information that's been on your mind, or you may have wanted some confirmation for, or you done seen something in meditation. It's something I might be led to say, lead, or something you comment, those synchronicities and things like that. Amen, Charles. Absolutely. And look, I got to stop saying that too. Ashe, because ain't no amens around here. We ain't doing that either. But I definitely appreciate y'all. I love you, love you, love you. I'm going to scoot off here now. Have a good evening. Be well. Don't like I say, go get something to chill. Well, it's getting pretty late. Whichever time zone we're in now. So be careful, and we can meet up tomorrow. Peace and blessings to you all. Namaste.